It's always there, trailing us, invisible to the eye, silent to the ear, and yet somehow it's real. If you've ever stared up at the night sky and felt that strange, creeping sensation that we're not alone, not in the extraterrestrial sense, but in some deeper, quieter way, then maybe, just maybe, you've sensed it too. Because there's something out there, something vast, something haunting, something following our planet. This isn't science fiction. This isn't imagination. It's a real mystery that has troubled astronomers for more than half a century. Whispers of enormous shapes drifting silently alongside us in space, ghost-like apparitions hiding in the shadows of our orbit. Some say they've seen them, massive ethereal clouds almost 9 times the size of Earth. Others? Nothing. No evidence. No trace. Just empty sky. But how can something so huge exist right next to us without being seen by everyone? To find answers, we have to go back in time. Back to 1961. A small observatory, a telescope, and a man named Kazimierz Kordylewski, a Polish astronomer with a quiet obsession, the uncharted zones of space that tug at our planet with invisible fingers. These places, called Lagrange points, aren't marked by stars or signposts. They're more like the invisible sweet spots of gravity, where forces pull in perfect balance. And there, in 2 of these silent zones, Kordylewski saw something strange. Not a moon, not a comet, not even a planet. What he saw looked like clouds, wisps, faint patches of something that shouldn't be there. Something that shimmered with just enough light to be noticed, but only barely. He called them libration clouds. Today we call them the Kordylewski Dust Clouds. They weren't supposed to exist. The math said they shouldn't hold together. The sky offered no confirmation, but Kordylewski kept watching. And what he found, those ghostly streaks near the Earth in moons L4 and L5 points, would become one of astronomy's most puzzling legends. At first, no one believed him. For years, scientists searched those same points of space and found nothing. Some laughed, others shrugged, but a very few, wondered. What if Kordylewski had glimpsed something real, something too fragile to see except under the perfect conditions? It wouldn't be the last time someone tried to find them. In the decades that followed, the mystery deepened. From the skies above Poland to high-altitude flights by NASA, astronomers kept returning to the Lagrange points, hoping to catch a glimpse. Sometimes they succeeded. The clouds were there, barely, like fog against the night. Ghosts drifting in slow motion. But every sighting was met with silence. Or worse, doubt. Because the KDCs didn't act like anything else in the sky. They weren't solid. They weren't stable. They weren't predictable. Sometimes they showed up. Sometimes they didn't. And that's what made them so maddening and so captivating. Because what if the reason we couldn't always see them was because they were alive? Not in the biological sense, but in the sense that they changed, shifted, moved with the rhythm of the Earth and Moon like a quiet dance we barely understood. Imagine for a moment a structure 9 times wider than our planet, made entirely of microscopic dust, invisible unless the light hits it just right, shifting like mist in space, always there, but never in one place for long. It's no wonder they've been so difficult to prove. And yet, even with all this uncertainty, something kept pulling scientists back to the L4 and L5 points, again and again. Why? Because there was a pattern, a whisper in the data, a soft but insistent voice saying, "Look closer." And so they did. In the high mountains of Poland, in the stillness of night, astronomer Maciej Winiarski once again saw the impossible. He saw the clouds, not just faintly, not just vaguely, but vividly in color. The first 3-color photometric observation ever taken of them. The light was redder than expected, redder than the counterglow that surrounds our planet, a detail that didn't match the usual dust floating in space. This wasn't just ordinary interstellar haze. It was something else, something different. But even then, even after decades of searching, the doubt remained. Because in 1991, Japan's heightened space probe flew directly through the Lagrange zones. It had dust detectors on board, ready, watching, waiting, and it found nothing. It should have been the end. Case closed. No clouds, no ghosts, just empty space. But the scientists who dedicated their lives to this mystery weren't ready to give up. Because maybe, just maybe, the heightened probe missed them. Maybe the clouds were too delicate, too slow, too ghostly for its instruments to catch. The truth wasn't gone. It was just harder to find. And in 2018, something happened. Something incredible. A breakthrough. One that didn't rely on old telescopes or grainy photos or luck. Instead, it used light itself, polarized light. And for the first time in history, it revealed what had been hiding in the darkness all along. Sometimes it takes the right eyes to see what's always been there. In 2018, a group of scientists in Hungary, astronomer Judit Slies-Balog and physicists Gabor Horváth and András Barta, decided to look for the Kordylewski dust clouds, not with ordinary cameras, but with a different kind of vision. They used polarized imaging, a method that filters light by its angle, allowing hidden structures to appear where normal light would simply wash them out. It's a way to peel back the glare of space and reveal what's quietly scattering sunlight behind the curtain. They took dozens of images at the L5 Lagrange point, where Kordylewski had once reported seeing his faint clouds. And in those images, under the careful filter of polarized light, they saw it. A whisper of structure, a ghost caught mid-movement. The light didn't scatter randomly. It danced in a specific way, matching exactly what theoretical models predicted if there really were particles there. Dust, floating, reflecting sunlight in a pattern that couldn't be explained away. They hadn't just seen a possibility, they had seen confirmation. For years, astronomers had questioned whether these clouds were a trick of the eye, a fleeting illusion like a mirage on a hot road. But what Slies-Balog and her team saw couldn't be dismissed. The polarized light didn't lie. Whatever was there was real, and it was made of dust, microscopic, drifting, ancient. They even modeled it on a computer, 1.86 million particles dancing through space, forming a structure so vast and yet so delicate it could be missed with the blink of a telescope. The simulation mirrored the images, dust swirling in the gravitational cradle of L5, moving like a soft storm, constantly reshaping, alive in a way no moon or rock could ever be. Not static, but dynamic, breathing in the rhythm of cosmic forces. So why had it taken so long to find? Because the Kordylewski dust clouds are the definition of elusive. They're enormous, yes, but that's not what makes them invisible. It's the way they're spread out. Their total mass is tiny, barely a whisper against the weight of our moon. And their individual particles? They're smaller than a human hair, submicron, smaller than some bacteria. You can't just point a telescope at the sky and expect to see them. They slip through the cracks, drifting like phantom mist. And they're not fixed, they change. According to recent models, the cloud at L5 isn't a still formation. It pulses, grows, shrinks. Its density shifts as the moon orbits Earth. Every twist and tug of lunar gravity affects it. Solar winds batter it. The pull of the sun stirs it. These clouds aren't static. They're dancers in a fragile ballet, one that spans tens of thousands of kilometers but is so faint it could vanish in a breath of cosmic wind. That explains the inconsistency. Why one astronomer sees it in brilliant detail while another sees nothing at all. It's not because it's not there. It's because it's changing, disappearing and reappearing like a dream. And yet, through all this, it follows us. The cloud remains reborn again and again, like the tide of an invisible sea. Our planet has a shadow, one made of dust and light, lurking at the edges of our path around the sun. But what are these clouds made of? Where do they come from? That mystery is still unraveling. Their red hue, seen in Winiarski's early photographs, suggested a different origin than the typical space dust that reflects the sun's light. It implies a different chemical makeup, something richer, maybe even older. And if these particles have been circling our Earth-Moon system for this long, they could be remnants of something ancient, a forgotten piece of cosmic history. Could they be the leftovers of some old lunar collision? a debris trail from a long-lost asteroid, or something even stranger, dust from beyond our solar system, trapped here in the Earth's gravitational dance for eons. Whatever the origin, one thing is clear. We've been sharing our journey through space with something we barely understand, something we didn't even know was there. And that's not just fascinating, it's unsettling. Because when we think of our place in the cosmos, we think we've got it figured out. One moon, one planet, a handful of satellites. But the KDCs remind us that reality is more complicated, more layered, more mysterious. The sky is not empty. It's alive, with movement, with stories, with presences we haven't yet come to terms with. And the dust clouds aren't the only things. Our planet, it turns out, has had other companions too. Not just ghosts of dust, but actual moons, small ones, hidden ones, temporary ones, mini-moons. They sound like fiction, but they're real. Earth has, on rare occasion, captured small asteroids in its gravity, pulling them into orbit. Most don't stay long, months, maybe a year, before they break free and drift away. They don't look like moons in the traditional sense. They're just chunks of rock that get caught in our pull. But they orbit us. They follow. They count. Like 2020 CD3, a tiny asteroid that orbited Earth for more than a year before escaping into the void again. Few even knew it was there. It didn't shine like our moon. It didn't make headlines. But it was a moon nonetheless. And all of this, the ghost clouds, the mini-moons, the invisible dancers in space, leads us to one conclusion. We are not as alone as we once thought. The Earth is not solitary. It is surrounded by a hidden web of movement, of shadows, of companions we've only just begun to see. We've spent so long imagining the heavens as empty. Stars twinkle above us. Planets spin in the vast quiet. The moon tugs at our oceans. And beyond that, we've always believed in solitude, that our Earth sails through space with only a single companion, that nothing trails in our wake but silence. But now that belief is breaking, because something is following us. Not one thing, many. Whispers, shadows, dust, caught in gravitational songs older than our species. Formations that come and go, invisible to the naked eye but persistent, patient, etched into the dance between Earth and Moon like ancient memories we forgot how to read. The Kordylewski clouds aren't just strange. They aren't just beautiful. They're a revelation. Proof that even the most seemingly barren stretches of space around our own planet can hold secrets. Secrets that span tens of thousands of kilometers. Secrets that are fragile, flickering, ghostly, yet somehow enduring. It's hard not to feel awe when you realize these clouds have likely existed for billions of years. They've been there through ice ages and extinctions. They were there when humans first looked up and wondered what lay beyond the stars. And we didn't even know. They're so close. And we didn't know. It makes you wonder, what else have we missed? What else floats silently around us, undetected, unmeasured, unacknowledged? Science often celebrates what it can confirm. But sometimes the most powerful discoveries are the ones that refuse to be pinned down, the ones that blur the line between presence and absence, the ones that whisper rather than shout. The KDCs are not moons as we normally define them. They are not rocks or worlds or objects we could ever land on. They are clouds, soft, tenuous, elusive. But in many ways, they're more haunting than any solid moon, because they reveal a layer of our world we never considered. A twin presence always beside us, changing shape like a ghost in the mist. Imagine a cloud larger than the Earth, made of the tiniest possible particles, some as small as bacteria. Imagine that cloud slowly churning at the edge of our gravitational field, held in place not by physical chains, but by the delicate balance of forces, like a spider web stretched between the Earth and Moon. Now imagine it watching us, always there, beyond the reach of ordinary sight, like a silent observer, not malevolent, not intelligent, but ancient, quiet, persistent, a companion that doesn't ask for recognition, doesn't demand attention, but simply is. And maybe that's the most humbling part of all. For centuries, we've sent our eyes outward, through telescopes, through satellites, Through spacecraft probing the edge of the solar system, we've looked for signs of life on distant planets, for strange objects in deep space, for signals from stars we can barely pronounce. But the KDCs remind us that some of the greatest mysteries are right beside us. They orbit with us. They drift with us. They follow us. Not far away. Not beyond reach. But in the very fabric of the Earth-Moon system itself. And maybe, just maybe, there are lessons here. Not just about dust and gravity and orbital mechanics, but about wonder, about curiosity, about paying attention to the things that slip through the cracks. Because the universe isn't just full of explosions and collisions and spectacular galaxies. Sometimes it's quiet, sometimes it's subtle, sometimes it's a cloud of dust whispering through the void. And in that whisper is a story that spans generations, a story of human stubbornness, of scientists refusing to let go of a possibility, of skeptics challenged, of evidence that hides in light. A story that took 60 years to hear properly, and one that still isn't finished. Because the more we observe the Kordylewski Dust Clouds, the more we realize how little we understand them, how they evolve, how they remain, whether they're replenished, whether they fade, what they might become in the future, or what they were in the past. And beyond the science, there's something else, something more human, the knowledge that we are not truly alone in our orbit, that we are part of a system more complex and mysterious than we imagined, that even in the quietest corners of our cosmic path, there is movement, there is presence, there is story. So the next time you look up at the moon, pause, and remember, it's not just the moon up there. Out beyond it, stretched across the invisible geometry of space, are the faintest shadows of forgotten dust, drifting with us, older than memory, quieter than breath. Something vast is following us, and we're only just beginning to see it.